Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Stock Market Outlook video brought to you by DeepView. It's my daily driver for screening, charting, watch list management, alerts, the works, and it's the platform that we're developing currently and always adding new features and innovating. You can check out the link down below in the description. We're running a holiday sale, special offer, try 3 months for only $50. Again, the link to that is down below in the description. If you haven't tried this out, definitely recommend going ahead and giving us a try and seeing all the special features that we've built into the platform to save you time during your routines and just make trading that much easier and finding those market leaders that much easier. With that said, today, of course, we'll dive into the market indexes, leading stocks, leading themes. There's a lot to cover. Some very exciting action under the hood these 3 days. The indexes, doesn't look too interesting, but there are a lot of really important moves that I definitely want to cover here today. But before we get into that, I do want to mention that this is the last few days of the TradeLab holiday sale. This is my daily report as well as weekly report where I cover the top leading stocks, analyze the markets every single day. I purposely make the report very concise and a lot of meat and potatoes, no fluff. You should be able to read through it in just a few minutes, and it covers the key market leaders every single day, the key setups that I'm watching personally, as well as provide my daily focus list for the next day. So if you're interested in that, check out the link down below in the description. You can save $200 right now. This is the last time this price will be available. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in. Just a little bit about the TradeLab again. I post daily reports, as I mentioned, talking through the day's market action as well as the setups for the next day. And then also each week, I do a trade opportunity case study of the best opportunities that week, mostly swing trading and position trading setups. I talk through how to get it on your radar, how to discover it, the actual setup, as well as trade execution, as well as position management. And this was an example right now of CRNC. This was this week's example where I discussed, the breakout move, how you could trade the day one episodic pivot, intraday entries, how to manage risk, all of that. I do that every single week with what I deem is the most, actionable, best trade opportunity of that week. And every month I do a much deeper breakdown of a previous market leader. This previous month was Tesla. Its move in 2019 through 2021 broke down the 3 different phases, the setups, the VCP, episodic pivot, right here that started everything off. I break down everything in very much detail so we can kind of distill the most important learnings as well as the blueprint to find the next Tesla. And this month I'll be doing the same thing with NVDA. So if you're interested in the TradeLab, again, go to the link down below in the description and you can go ahead and save $200 for the next few days only. All right, so with that spiel out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting with the QQQ, obviously we've been in pullback mode since this bar right here. There's a little bit of weakness under the hood. You can see breadth deteriorating, net new lows overall. As we increased, that divergence is something to always keep an eye on and watch for, that possibility, because then a bar like this can happen. Obviously, the Fed also played a part here, but you always want to be aware as we're trending higher, if under the hood breadth is deteriorating, that we might have the potential for some weakness, a pause, a pullback. You never know something like this is going to happen, but you always want to just be kind of aware of that possibility and say, hey, maybe I don't want to be as aggressive. I really want to pick and choose the best setups with the tightest risk. And I want to be ready to see, which positions I'm going to let go if a bar like this happens and I need to manage risk very, very quickly. Knowing that in advance makes a day like this that much easier to be defensive on, and you can almost be proactive instead of just reacting. And that makes all the difference, both financially as well as psychologically as well, on a big distribution day like this. But overall, pullback, undercut the 21 EMA. We did have a strong bounce, but then we rolled over again, gap lower, break below the 21 EMA, and then testing that 50-day moving average. So we're about 2 weeks into this overall pullback. But under the hood, especially on these 4 days, the market leaders have been much stronger than the index. They've been holding up a lot better. If we go to Tesla, NVIDIA, well, not so much Tesla, we'll talk through that chart here, but NVIDIA put in a higher low. Reddit's been holding up great. A-Lab's been trending really nicely. So under the hood, the action from the market leaders, the growth stock leaders, has been a lot better than what we're seeing in the index. So that's what's kind of been pushing me more on the offensive actually during this pullback and looking for those tight entries to re-enter. And that paid off on Thursday and Friday as we pushed higher and had a positive expectation breaker back above the 50 SMA, strong close, and now we're sitting right below the 21 EMA. Now we're not out of the woods yet. This type of bar is always something to take note of. Bars like this often are just the start of corrections, but this is a positive short-term action. The market leaders are acting well, so we'll see if we can fall through to the upside, break above the 21 EMA, and start move back towards these previous all-time highs. And we'll see if we can get some net new highs instead of net new lows here. You can see breadth picking up just a little bit, and we'll see if this positive action continues. Looking at the IWM, this kind of shows how the small caps are doing, and this is a lot weaker, obviously, than the QQQ. We're still well below the 50 SMA, trending below a declining 21 EMA. We've been forming a range here, but again, we're near the high of this range, and we'll see if we can fall through to the upside and pop through that 21 EMA. SPY, looks pretty similar to the QQQ, maybe a little bit weaker. You can see we kind of traded sideways versus increasing before this big bar down, and we're still right below this cluster of moving averages, watching for that pop through. IBIT, this has been stronger. You can see that it looks a little bit different. Obviously, we had a nice move here, and we've kind of been doing a consolidation here where we tried to break out. We pulled back into the range, but we've kind of been consolidating for 2.5 months here. We're above the 21 EMA. We back tested it and closed strongly off of it on Friday. And overall, we're above that key moving average already and right below this key level. I'd love to see a move higher, pull back again into the 21 EMA, form a tight range, and then a pop through. But this action is definitely promising. Potential undercut and rally setup right here. Positive expectation breaker with a poor close, but then another positive expectation breaker that stuck. And, we pretty much went sideways on Friday after back testing that 21 EMA. So in terms of indexes, things are still suspect because of this bar. We had a lower higher here as well, but we're trying to push towards that 21 EMA and push above it again, which would start a new market cycle. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. But in terms of the market leadership, as we'll get to, that points more towards the fact that we might be starting a new uptrend, a new trend above that 21 EMA. But obviously anything can happen. If we reverse lower and undercut this low, that would break the positive expectation and suggest we need a lot more time. But if we fall through to the upside, again, that's a positive sign, and we want to be ready for anything that can happen. Looking at the mega caps, Tesla leaked below the all-time high, broke the 21 EMA as well, gapped down on those delivery numbers, but then we had a very strong day Friday, really reversing this move down very sharply. That's what we want to see as bulls. That's a positive sign of strength. This weakness was bought up, and we'll see if there's follow through. Maybe this is still the left-hand side of a base, but this could be the start of the bottoming formation. As you can kind of visualize, we move higher, move lower, move higher, move lower, set up some higher lows. Those could be spots where we form tight ranges, all of that. But this is a positive sign off these lows, and we'll see if this kind of strength continues. NVDA, this put in a nice higher low setup. You can see the strength actually happened right here. And we put in a higher low right near the 21 EMA, positive expectation breaker on Thursday, and follow through Friday. And I want to dive into the positive expectation breaker a little bit. This positive expectation breaker, what I mean by that is the bar prior was a pretty negative bar where we closed right near lows. Sometimes this can be a downside reversal day, big distribution day, but then the positive expectation breaker is, instead of following through to the downside after a negative bar like this, what do? We gap up, hold, and act well that day. So when we get a gap up and act well, that's a positive expectation breaker because it's breaking the negative expectation that we had based on the day prior. And this can be a potential trend change in the short term. And we saw that with fall through to the upside, wedge pop through the 21 EMA here on Friday. So this strength was confirmed on Friday. And this would be an actual setup on the positive expectation breaker, looking for an intraday turn, and then we get that fall through to the upside. So this is acting really nicely. Looking at Amazon, this is just kind of pulling back to 21 EMA, but looks constructive, potential higher low. We'll see if we can push higher. Moving on to Google, this looks very similar to Amazon. Microsoft, definitely weaker. You can see we're below the moving averages. We really fall through to the downside on a bar like this. So this, in terms of the mega caps, is definitely one of the weaker ones. Meta, starting to move off the 50 SMA. We'll see if we can fall through to the upside through this sideways consolidation pivot. And lastly, Apple, more like the left-hand side of a potential base. We haven't had kind of a turn yet. We'll see if that can, change next week. This prior high is definitely a level of interest, and that lines up with the 50 SMA as well. So that would be a spot to look for a turn if we do pull back to that area. But overall, NVIDIA the strongest again, which is good to see that acting well in the short term. It's good for the market as well. And Tesla, of course, in focus as well. Nice strong day here, reclaiming that 21 EMA. So that's pretty much it for the indexes. Let's move on to the leading themes as of the moment. Friday, blockchain, MSCR, coin, all those names pushed off, the bottom of bases very strongly. That's leading in the very short term. But overall, in terms of a 20-day view of this, and these are basically price percent change graphs of these different thematic ETFs, you can see that most stuff has been consolidating, which makes sense. That's what we've been doing. We've been pulling back over the past few weeks. But you see a lot of positivity in the very short term. On Friday, a lot of themes were pushing. In terms of leading themes, what I'm focused on is AI, software, automobiles, smaller sectors. We've got quantum computing, as well as the SMR technology. Those are kind of smaller themes that I'm watching as well. And we'll take a look at VST, SMR, Oklo, NNE in just a second. But this kind of gives a nice quick view of the themes, both in the short term based on Friday's action, and then over the longer term horizon, 20 days, about a month's price action. And you can actually see SMH up there, Hack up there, IBIT as well as some of the ARK funds. And this gives you a good sense of what stocks are leading over the last 20 days, what stocks are performing poorly, and then what acted really nicely on Friday. Heat map, and let's change this to open, if I can spell here. Price percent change from the open. This again just helps you see the stocks that are standing out. And let's switch to a daily chart here. This just is a quick visual way to almost screen for strength. We've got Rivian made a nice move. MSTR made a nice move off the low this inside day here. Lunar also followed through to the upside. VST, this pushed on Thursday, followed through on Friday nicely. So this is another nice visual way to scan quickly and identify that strength. I like using price percent change from the open as well as relative volume. Relative volume controls the size of the square, and then price percent change from the open controls the color. And I've got the DeepView leaders screen as kind of my universe, but you can pick a watch list screen, whatever you want to kind of create this universe. Group ranks, this just helps show, what groups and sectors are strong over a certain time period. We've got daily, weekly, monthly, and 3-month ratings for groups, industries, and some industries, and automobiles with Tesla acting well. That was the #1 industry on a one-day basis here on Friday. Post-market movers, don't need to go through this. That's kind of what I reviewed to look for, aftermarket movers on earnings. And the bubble charts is similar. Really helps you identify those outliers, just like the heat map. We can see Rivian, RKLB, Lunar, VST, Reddit. All these were very, very strong on Friday, and all these are clickable. And let's go to Reddit, showing that break from this nice range fall through to the upside after the upside reversal at the 21 EMA. So that's a quick, view on the overall themes and all of that. But overall, as I mentioned, AI, software, automobiles, and on to a lesser extent, the energy names like the SMRs as well as quantum computing is definitely an interesting theme as well. But let's dive deeper into some leading names, and let's go ahead and sort by 1 month RAS rating and talk through some different charts. QMCO, more of a performance enhancer, swing trade, day trade type name, but setting up another tight range at the 10 EMA. We'll see if we can pop through. Very tight action. It's going to break one way or the other sharply, so be ready. This is one that can really move, and you want to manage your risk very tightly, size a little bit lower, and just be more aggressive with your sell rules in a name like this. RUM also starting to turn, reclaiming that HVC on Friday. We'll see if this can fall through to the upside. SOUN just kind of consolidating over the past 2 weeks. Try to push a little bit Friday, but faded off highs, and we'll see if this can get going next week. Lunar also following through the upside, but let's go ahead and dive through some more of the market leaders here. So first, bringing up ALAB. Wow, I really can't type today. ALAB, here we go. So this has just been a beautiful trend above a rising 21 EMA. Nice upside reversal off that level. So you could have picked it up versus the 21 EMA here on Thursday, and nice fall through. This is just trending really nicely. Nothing to do if you've got a position. And not giving too much of a consolidation to let you add outside of those pullback spots versus the 21 EMA. Reddit, as I already showed, a nice fall through to the upside after this range. I bought it on Friday, added back to my position, and this is textbook. You've got a tight range, upside reversal to really prime this overall consolidation setup. So you've got a strong stock in trend. It's acted well before earnings gaps. You've got momentum behind it. It forms a consolidation, forms a tight range within that consolidation. And then what do you have on the right-hand side of that tight range? You get an upside reversal to prime that setup and say, hey, it's ready to go. And then we get a nice fall through up 7% here on Friday. We'll see what happens. Maybe we get a pullback before we test this key level. But if it reverses lower, breaks this low, that would break expectations. That would be a sign to get out, take your stop and move on. But if you get a nice tight action and then reconfirmation, this just kind of would restart that trend, which has been very powerful along with ALAB over the past 3, 4, 6 months or so. So really nice action from Reddit. Let's move on to GEV. This also had a really nice base consolidation, very tight. If we take a look at this, this is only about 10% deep, and that tells you the strength of a correction after stock has risen about 100%. It only pulled back 10%, sets up against the 50 SMA. You had a gap down and then a strong push. So it's trying to shake the trees a little bit here, but nice rally and push through all the way to break through this pivot. And we'll see if we get fall through next week. Wouldn't be surprised to see, some tight action here and then reconfirmation, and that would set up maybe an add spot. Or even a spot to start a new position if you haven't gotten one already. Let's bring up, let's see, PLTR. Palantir, another one that's been a clear leader over the past few months or so. Pulled back to the 21 EMA, nice upside reversal action for a few days, showing support versus that level. And then what do we get Friday after this upside reversal? We get fall through to the upside, and we'll see if we can restart this trend. Maybe it goes sideways, contracts again, and then breaks out. I wouldn't mind that. We've kind of been consolidating for about, a month or so. I wouldn't mind, one more week of sideways action and then a push higher, but really strong move here on Friday. I wanted to bring up VST because these SMRs and kind of data center energy plays have been very strong. You can see you set up a nice inside day to prime this overall setup. And what do we get the next day? The breakout and nice fall through on Friday again off these lows, and it's approaching these highs again. I'd love to see a handle form here and then reconfirmation, but of course we'll see what happens. On Friday, we had some nice breakouts in the same group. We had Oklo breaking higher from, again, an inside day, really nice action. And then we also had NNE breaking higher through this range highs, RMV going down to 0 before that breakout. So we see the overall theme working nicely together. Also bring up SMR here, breaking off lows, a little bit weaker than the previous ones, but potential the start of a nice move higher. Let's see, what did I want to bring up next? So let's bring up, let's go ahead and take a look at some tight names, and we'll take a look at AVGO for sure. So in terms of stocks that are set up potentially for next week, we already went through QMCO as more of a swing trade play. AVGO is interesting in the semi space. We have a tight range here on below average volume, RMV going to 0, clear pivot through these highs, as well as Friday's highs is another pivot. And ideally we get a push through altogether and test this high. But if we break lower, obviously that breaks expectations and we'd have to revisit. But right now it's retesting that 10 EMA, consolidating nice and tightly, and we're watching for that breakout move. So you could set alerts right through that level. RVLV setting up below the 21 EMA, NVCR setting up nice and tightly here as well. This really needs to get going though. It's leaking a little bit lower. I'd love to see a nice push breakout and then a test of these highs. Asana, testing that 21 EMA. I've got an alert set right there. Let's see what else was interesting for next week. A lot of stuff kind of moved already here on Thursday, so there wasn't too much to watch, but RBRK is another one within the semi space, or actually, sorry, the software space, trying to push off the 21 EMA. And we'll see if we can get a nice push higher and tested these highs all in one bar. But it's nice and tight versus that 21 EMA. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Let's see if there's any other names I really want to focus on. Shop below the 21 EMA. We'll see if we can pop through this line of resistance. It's been a little bit weak, but this is a nice kind of liquid leader that when it gets going can make some really nice moves. And it's kind of been consolidating all the way since this gap up on earnings here. Let's see if there's any other names I really wanted to focus on overall. I think that's pretty much it. RKLB, really nice move here on Friday. Nice upside reversal again at the 21 EMA. This is a key entry tactic that you can look for. Upside reversal on the 21 EMA within a range, within a consolidation. And then you're looking for follow through to the upside, breaking through highs the next day. And ideally, just as this did, it not only breaks through this high, but it breaks through many highs and tests the highs of that range. And the benefit of buying it down here versus waiting for the breakout out up here is you've got a cushion to deal with the volatility that often arises here on near these highs. I could fully imagine, an inside day that, shakes all the way down here, closes strongly. And if you're buying up here on this day, you're feeling the heat on this pullback versus if you buy right here, you've got a nice cushion to deal with. And that normal volatility, which can happen with these high flying names, doesn't bother you as much as if your cost was up here. So this allows you to manage risk a little bit tighter and have a cushion going into this key level, which we'll see if we can fall through to the upside. This is just broken out into all-time highs, and it's already run quite a bit. So we'll see how much more in the tank it has. But on the flip side, it just broke out of all-time highs, and often this is just the start of a major move. So this is a high-flying name that, again, is another theme, the space theme. We've also got DXYZ, I think, is the ETF that has some SpaceX ownership, and that is also a theme that's worth keeping an eye on. SMTC, nice pop through the 21 EMA. I mentioned this in the Trade Lab report. Let's see if there's any other names. KD, nice outside day. Again, this can prime an overall strong setup, and we got nice follow through on Friday. BE, this is popping above the 21 EMA a little bit. We're testing this level right here, this horizontal level. So if we'll see if we can get fall through to the upside as it forms out this nice constructive base after this breakout. And this breakout was on a catalyst based on an announcement, I think with Microsoft. But again, this is in that kind of alternative energy space that is experiencing a lot of strength right now. So that's why you want to be focused on those leading themes. MSTR, pulling back sharply below the moving averages, but no follow through to the downside after this bar. We get a positive expectation breaker and then follow through higher the next day, testing the 50 SMA. So we'll see what happens at this confluence of potential resistance points. We also have more overhead supply here, but if we bring up coin, this is a little bit of a shallower pullback, although it's still below those moving averages, but we'll have to see what happens with these Bitcoin related names. Bitcoin's kind of firming up a little bit. So we'll have to see what happens as I mentioned. I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about today. App right near this horizontal resistance level. Bill pushing through the 21 EMA, PLTR we already talked about. Bros acting really nicely, popping above the range here at the 21 EMA. So this setup, you've got a strong stock experiencing high momentum. Maybe you've got a recent gap. Maybe you have a recent breakout, and then we get a nice consolidation for about a month, a few weeks, pullback and tight range forming at the 21 EMA. You can see RMV pointed out this tightness. Then you draw your pivot, and then you're watching for that breakout move, and that's what we got in a lot of names over the past 1-2 days is a breakout from the tight range at the 21 EMA. I've actually got a screen here, 21 EMA pullback with power. That's exactly what I'm looking for. A stock near the 21 EMA with a tight range. That's kind of one of my go-to setups, and can get you really nice explosive moves that allow you to manage risk really tightly because you're buying it from a tight area just like that. Let's see if there's any other names I really want to touch on. Hood acting well, following through to the upside. This has been strong but a little bit choppy. But I do want to mention CRNC. So this is the name I broke down in depth in this week's trade opportunity with Trade Lab. Again, we've got that special holiday deal that is only lasting a few more days. So again, check out the link in the description if you're interested in that. But you had a really strong, powerful move, and a potential for an 80% move within this day from the open. This is an episodic pivot based on a catalyst, a partnership with NVDA, and it's acting really nicely. And this could just be the start of a move like we saw with ASTS, but this type of move as well will have a lot of volatility, gap downs, inside days that have 20% ranges. Crazy stuff can happen, so know what you're dealing with. But there's a lot of potential here as well for experienced and aggressive traders who like to take advantage of names like this. But overall, that's pretty much my run through of the market indexes, leading themes, leading stocks. There's a lot to watch, this upcoming week. We'll see if we get additional follow through. And a lot of stocks acted really nicely on Thursday and Friday. Also, this was featured in the Trade Lab before this breakout. I obviously didn't know that the news catalyst was going to happen, but you had the highest volume ever edge right here after earnings, where it kind of broke expectations, beat on earnings, beat on sales as well, set up a nice constructive VCP base. And then I was watching for that breakout. Definitely didn't know this was going to happen. But if you're watching the right stocks with this type of power, this is going to happen occasionally overall. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and leave a like down below on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you're interested in the Trade Lab, highly recommend it. You can check out the link down below in the description and go ahead and join us there. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care. Bye.